Swapping out the tensioner pulley and serpentine belts on a 2003 Mitsubishi Lancer. Belt's been squeaking, so that's kind of my next move. I've determined that pulley to be loose, and then we'll go through the steps today. All right, first thing I'm going to do is pop off these quick connects and get this protection off. That way I have access from the bottom side as well as the top side, because there's some things that are easy to do from the bottom versus the top. So all you have to do is extend these things a little down and then pop them out. It's kind of difficult to do with one hand, so I'm going to show one and I'm going to do the rest by myself. There you go. It's the main tensioner pulley right there, and the nut to loosen and tighten it. It's easier to get at from underneath, in my opinion. You get way more room to swing a wrench, so that's what I'm doing. Alright, I've loosened the this main nut right here. Now, there's the pulley. It's still got the belt on it, but you can see how loose it is. There's obviously some sort of damage there. Got a new pulley to put on. We'll check the bearing once it gets off. As you can see, the belt's off. I was able to loosen this right there. I'm using a open wrench, but they sell the crow's foot ones, which are probably a better option to have, so you can get a ratchet on it. But sometimes you got to use what you got. I was able to unscrew the bolt all the way off, or the nut. You can push the bolt slightly back into it because the tensioner is loose on it. That's that nut. So there's some play in there, and you can use that little bit of play to get the pulley off. I got the pulley here, and nut right there. It's a metric car, but I was able to use a 9/16 to fit pretty tight to that. I actually think it's a 14, but about the same. This is the I don't know if you can hear that. There's some grinding in there. A new one shouldn't make any sound when you do this, but said there's wiggle as well, which is the source of the noise. I said I got the new one and put it on. Got the old one and the new one next to each other. You can see that they're the same size, and I'm going to show you how this one. If you hear that, it makes absolutely no sound when you're spinning it. That's how it should do it. As you can see, that new pulley's inside. There's enough wiggle room to get the old one out and the new one on, but there's not a whole lot of room to get your hands up in there. So I'm gonna leave it a little loose so I can get the belt back on and have some room for the tightener. Then I'll tighten it down the rest of the way. But I actually have my wife. She's got a lot smaller hands than mine. Start that nut back on that bolt because I could not get my hand down there. Said if you have one of those ratcheting wrenches or one of the crow's foot ones, it might be possible to get in there. I only got these standard, so I had to borrow someone with smaller hands, but it's attached. This particular model of vehicle has two belts. There's the tensioner. It's on the alternator for this one. I'm gonna go ahead, since I'm swapping the pulley and one belt, swap both belts. So I'll show you. This is a size 12. It's right there. And there's plenty of room to swing a wrench here, so you get it off pretty quick. Once you take off the tensioners, force this back the other way. You can just grab it with your hand and pull it up this way towards the engine. You get enough space to pop off the old belt. Now all the belts are off. This is the old one, which this one right here, I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. The smaller of the two was not in that bad a condition, but the bigger one is all cracked. There you go. You can kind of see it. All cracked. So as I said, I'm replacing both just to make it, you know, both new. Alright, there you go. First pulley stretched around onto the alternator. I'll go up and tighten it down, then put the next pulley on. As you can see, the alternator pulley is on in the right spot. I used a crowbar to pry it back to where it was originally, or to thereabouts. Now I'm trying to line up that hole, and this is the tightener nut. The tighter it goes, it pulls this way, which pushes the alternator out to where it needs to be. Like I said, this will, I don't know if you can see exactly what I'm doing, but the more it squeezes, the more it pushes the alternator out, which is what we need to do. Get it not crazy tight, you know, good and snug. That's tight. I'll tighten that down the rest of the way with a wrench. I've got it around every part so far, minus this main pulley that runs, what is it, power steering or water pump or whatever. I'm not really paying attention. It's not, you sometimes run into this where it doesn't quite want to fit, so I'm really going to loosen up the main pulley tightening thing as I tug on this to kind of get it around. Sometimes if you wrap around these minor pulleys and then go to the major one, it's easier. Sometimes wrap around the major, then trying to get through these minor ones is easier. You just kind of got to mess with it where you have room on your hands and play in the line. So I'm gonna pause it. Alright, I got it around all the major pulleys. It's in the grooves. Just a matter of tightening it down now on that one tightener pulley. It's gonna take a minute, but I think we're good to go. Alright, there it is again. She's spinning. I'm gonna let it run for a few minutes and then check all the belts for tightness, make sure everything's is tight and snug, and then there you go, swapping out a serpentine belt, or both serpentine belts, for the 2003 Lancer and the idler pulley. There you go.